Rejoice, rejoice in the Lord always. And again I say, rejoice in the Lord always. And again I say, rejoice.
You will see in the bulletin that I have included an article called the same title as my sermon, Breaking Up with Nostalgia. What I want to tell you about that article is that article is not sermon notes. That article really is what you should consider after listening to this sermon. It's really part 2 of this sermon. It's really to make sure we go home with the message of the sermon. It's to make sure we don't derail 2019 by living in the past. It is to make sure that we leave here one burden freer than when we came. It is to make sure that we shatter what it is that is holding us back from greatness. It is to make sure that we not be remembered as good people who belong to a good God. It is to make sure that we, forever, after we leave this place, will only be remembered as great people who belong to an awesome God. So I put that little extra effort in there this week because I want to make sure that we're able to shatter this chain that holds us back. I want to make sure that we come out of living in a very black and white world. And I want to make sure that we are at least beginning. I mean, we may be babies in moving forward, but even babies can crawl. You may be a sprinter, you may be a walker, but I'm okay with if you're a crawler. But if you're not moving, you're dead. Spiritually dead. So I've come today to talk to you about breaking up. Breaking up with romance. Breaking up with nostalgia. Breaking up with dysfunctional relationships. Breaking up with bad habits. Breaking up with everything that is not great. And that includes that which is okay and that which is good. Because that which is okay and that which is good is holding you back from being great. As Jim Collins said in his groundbreaking leadership book, the title says it all. Good is the enemy of great. Now, I believe in a great God. I believe in a great God, and I believe that we need to get down these basic essentials because I believe that as we studied last year, the logos of Jesus, the words of Jesus, the logic of Jesus, and particularly as we spent the last quarter of the year focusing on the book of Revelation, I've become more and more convicted that Jesus is coming soon. I don't know when, but I do know that I live in a time that I've never thought I would live in. I do know that things change. You miss the news for a day and you might miss everything. I do know that Bible passages are soon to be fulfilled, and soon and very soon we will say, behold, he cometh with what? the clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they which pierced him, and all the tribes of the earth shall mourn. Even so, even though there's going to be tribulation, even though there's going to be mourning for those who have not prepared for the return of Jesus, even so, the prophet says, amen, let it be true. So it's essential that we, as the Solid Rock Seventh-day Adventist Church, not be those who mourn when our Lord returns. For we have been taught, and we are without excuse. The Scriptures tell us, false what? False Christ and false prophets will what? Arise and perform great signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, who? 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 Oh, who said it? Someone said it. Us! You are the elect. You are the chosen of God. And the enemy in the last days, the enemy in the last moments of Earth's history is going to arise. Don't be surprised. He's going to be active. Don't be shocked. He's going to be present. It's not going to be a secret. His one job is going to be to fool you. Don't think you're safe because you've read the Bible. He's not coming to fool those who haven't read the Bible. He owns them already. He's coming to fool those who don't know the Bible. He's coming to fool those who don't know the real Christ from a false Christ. He's coming to fool those who don't know how to hear the voice of the prophet crying in the wilderness. And so they accept the voice of a false prophet. Look at the bold words. Read the bold words with me. See what? See I've what? I've told you when? Beforehand. You see, I don't know when Jesus is coming, but I got one praise. If there's one thing we can leave here praising about right now, is we're still in the beforehand. We are in the end time. Don't think the end time is coming. We are currently in it. Where? I don't know. But I know we're before the beforehand. He's still warning. He's still telling. He's still calling. He's still trying to connect. He's still trying to bring us into alignment with his plan. And he says in Matthew 25, verse 13, watch therefore. Why? You know not what? Or the hour, the day or the hour. Look, I have not come to tell you Jesus is coming on my birthday. But that would be nice. I'll come to tell you he's coming. I don't know when. I do know that he's going to come in the clouds. I do know that he's coming soon. I do know that before he comes, there will be a massive attempt to deceive even you. And I do know that for me to tell you anything more than that would be to be in rebellion against the words of Jesus in Matthew 25:13. But I do think that Matthew 25:13 is enough for us to make sure we get the essentials down in 2019. And we should be in the advanced class. But before you can go to the advanced class, we got to make sure we all got our general studies done. Right? We got to get the prerequisites cemented. I'm not even going to tell you how many times I had to retake college algebra to get through it. Yeah, it made me cry too. Yeah. But one thing I learned is until you have the essentials, until you have the basics down, and until you have nailed it, how then can the master tell you things that he has not yet said? One of the things we need to look at is the problem we have with nostalgia. One thing I can tell you about the past, this is a certainty about the past. You know, some people like to tinker with the past. Some people like to rewrite history. One thing I can tell you, no one can ever change about the past. Jesus didn't come in the past, only as a baby. He's coming only in the future. And he's coming as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And he's coming with a rod of iron to beat the wolves off of you. And we can't be stuck in the past because our victory is in the future. We can't be stuck on a romanticized version of our faith, because the romanticized version of our faith did not lead us to the day of victory. We must be in the present. We must be watching. What did he say? Therefore, watch. We must be moving forward. Now, I don't care if we're talking about your spiritual past or your relationship past, but a lot of us have a toxic relationship problem with the past itself. The problem with being in love with the past is you miss the present. The problem with being in love with the past is you are having an adulterous affair with someone Jesus has not called you to. The problem with living in the past is you're only going to get what you already got. But the past, it was so wholesome. The past was so pure. The past was so good. And remember those classic TV shows. Oh, I love classic TV shows. How about you? Yeah, come on. I love them. My classic TV shows might be different than yours. I'm thinking more like Happy Days. Mork and Mindy. No, I can't do the Grady Bus. I'm sorry. I cut it off there. I just messed with you. But I like what Paul Harvey said. A voice from the past to talk about the past. The problem with the good old days is they were not the good old days. The problem with the good old days is they were not the good old days. We romanticize them. We talk about them in grandiose ways, but really, if the past was so perfect, how is the present so messed up? Come on. I come to praise God today. I come to be real with God today. I'm not just talking about America's past. I'm talking about my past. I'm talking about your past. I'm talking about our past. If the past was so perfect, why is the present so messed up? Spiritually, we've got to move on. I was looking at these ads, thinking about the past, and I was looking at like what was popular back in the day, right? Yeah. So back in the day, here were some good health ministries tips for you. These are not good health ministry tips, but back in the day, they were. Back in the day, you just had to find the right cigarette to ease your pregnancy experience. These are the good old days. You know why they're so good? You could do stuff like this. No one judged you. Oh, the good old days. Oh, my health ministries people are going to be having a seminar with me after this. Back in the good old days, you ate as much butter as you can because it was an oil, it was a fat, and it greased up the arteries to make the blood go through smoothly. What are you laughing at? Those were the good old days. Come on, to the good old days. I mean, these are all real. I'm talented, but not talented enough to make up fake magazines. Oh, back in the good old days, husbands, when you could beat your wife I mean, when you can advertise in a magazine to sell coffee that it's okay to beat your wife if she doesn't do the grocery shopping to your expectations. I thought women were going to push back more on that. There's more coming. In the good old days, guys, if you got the right tie, it would teach a woman that she needs to be submissive to you. After all, you work hard enough to buy a quality brand name tie. That means you're a provider. And what's she going to do if you don't provide for her? She's going to be an old maid. Those were the good old days. Good old days for who? Oh, yes, the good old days when you could say anything you wanted to anyone. And they still do. Look, listen, I know what people say. But they could say it out loud. They could advertise it as a sell. You got fat people in your house? We like fat people. Bring them on into our shop. In fact, fat people aren't even going to cost you anymore. Well, they really shouldn't since you've been teaching them to eat sticks of butter. These were what we call the good old days. So I don't know. I got to kind of give it to Paul Harvey. The problem with the good old days is they were not the good old days. I haven't even touched race. And I'm not sure I can after 2018. Because some of the good old days is sadly coming back. But we are not. We are not of the good old days. We don't settle for good. We are not interested in good. We are a great people who belong to an awesome God. And we need to learn about the power of the sin of nostalgia in our life. Now, the sin of nostalgia, you don't got to go back to the 40s. You don't got to go back to the 50s. You don't have to be a child of the 80s like me. In fact, the favorite nostalgia most of us like to go back to is this nostalgia of our favorite sin. Now, it would not be sin had God not told you it was sin. The problem is God has told you it's sin. You know it's sin. You've surrendered it to God as sin, but you like to have custody rights with your old sin. You like to arrange visitations with your old sin. You do things like this with your old... when I say you, please, I mean me too. We like to do things like this with our old sin. I haven't seen that old friend in so long. Man, I done moved to the other side of town away from that old friend. Man, but I got a glance of that old friend in the supermarket the other day. It was like, oh yeah, baby, I remember those days. Soon you find yourself on the wrong side of town. Soon you find yourself in the wrong territory. And soon you just, instead of saying, I haven't visited that in a long time, you're saying, when can I classify it having been a long time again? This is what the prophet Isaiah said to Israel when God was just about done with them. The prophet Isaiah said to Israel when God was just about done with them. Remember not the former things. Consider not the things of old. This is your essential. This is the essential to take home. Can we do this together? Because this is essential. There's more, but this is essential. When God was about to destroy Israel, when God was fed up with Israel making routine, scheduled, accidental run-ins with its old lovers, God raised up a radical prophet And people tried to quiet him down. The church said, people don't want to come to your church. You talk like that to them. But Isaiah stood before the assembly and he said, say it with me. Remember, say it with me. Wait. Our God is great. He is awesome. He never lies. His words are true. Say it like it's true. Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Remember not. Do not let them come back to your mind. Do not entertain them in the supermarket. Do not entertain them on the street signs. Do not be allured by the smell coming out of a bar. Do not, whatever the temptation is, shut down the TV if you can't handle the commercial. Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old, because what is in your mind will soon be in your hand. What is in your mind soon will be in your deeds. What is between your eyes will become your center. Remember not how you used to be. There's nothing worth visiting back there again. And besides, even the very best of it was filled of smoking pregnancies, eating butter sticks, and domestic abuse celebrated as entertainment. Remember Jackie Gleason? Oh, my classic TV people, where are you? To the moon is what he would say before he threatened to beat his wife. We all laughed that Nick at Night. Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a what? A new thing. Behold, I am doing a new thing, and now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Oh, listen, you may think a religious life is boring. You don't know my God. You may think a spiritual life has no excitement. You really have been in a lukewarm spot with God. You may think faith is stuffy. But in the desert, in the dry places, in the empty places, in the spots where nothing can live, He plants new crops. He makes new ways. He provides new paths. He brings forth new life. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way. Where? In the wilderness. And rivers. Where? In the desert. Sometimes you got to dry out to get your thirst quenched. I hope you're hearing me today. Sometimes you got to dry out to get your faith quenched, to get your thirst quenched. Sometimes we're not interested in the living springs of water because we're drinking all kinds of spirits. Sometimes God looks unappealing or boring because we are infected with all kinds of corruption. But Jesus says, look, behold, away with the old. Jesus says, it's a new thing. Why can't you see it? And the reason you can't see it is it's really hard to see the glory of God with sin right in front of your face like this all the time. This is God's last warning to Israel. He is about to send in Babylon to sack them and even to destroy their temple. He says to them, it is time now to let go of the old. It is time to see that I am doing a new thing. Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Remember this verse from King Solomon? It's a beautiful verse from King Solomon. It's not so beautiful, but it's beautiful. Like a dog returns to his vomit, a fool returns to his folly. What'd you bring to potluck? I hope it wasn't folly. What are you going to eat when you go home? Your folly is vomit. It's the kind of vomit that makes pregnant women smoke and calls it liberty. It's the kind of vomit that beats its wife and calls it manhood. It's the kind of vomit that calls innocent children fat and breaks their will to thrive. What do you think that's out there? Where do you think you're going? What do you think it's going to do for you? I'm going to tell you what it's doing for you. How's it going? If it's going great for you, you're probably not eating of a regular diet of vomit. But if it's going rough for you, this is why it's going rough for you. And if you've somehow got to the place, I know this is a little gross, but just stick with me, okay? Because it's like my first sermon. I don't have any capital built up with you yet, but just trust me, okay? Besides, I'm not going to preach next week because it's going to be the anniversary, so we're just going to celebrate, so I got to get all my tough stuff in now. If you've gotten to the place where you can eat vomit and not gag it back up, you need Jesus. You need Jesus. You need Jesus. And the truth is, we are fast upon the time, not when the world can eat a steady diet of vomit and not be upset by it, but people in the church do too. I don't want to have the characteristics of a dog. This is why I believe this. I believe the future is too great, too awesome, too powerful, too exciting, too meaningful, too fulfilling, too everything I was meant to be, to choose to live in a broken past. I got to ask you, what's your past done for you lately? I'm thankful Isaiah didn't leave it there in verse 25. Verse 25, Isaiah's going to bring it right home now. Isaiah's like, look, this is who our awesome God is. This is how we define awesomeness. This is how we define greatness. This is how we define future. I am he who does what? Blots out your transgressions for my own sake. He ain't going to just do it for you. He's going to do it because you're out there representing him and it's looking real bad for him. I am the God who blots out your transgressions for my own sake. I will not remember your vomit. I will not remember your backwards romance with nostalgia. I will not remember that you made an idol out of things that I call used up. I am the Lord your God who blots out your sickness. I am. You see, he says it twice. That's called an emphatic statement. No mistake who's going to do this for you. This is the awesome grace of Jesus Christ. This is the awesome grace of Yahweh. This is the awesome grace of the God of Moses and Jacob and all of the patriarchs. This is the God who took Rahab, the prostitute, and put her smack dab in the lineage of David the king and Jesus the Christ. I will blot out your transgressions. And I will not remember your sins. Now watch this, because we're coming home, but you got to watch this. But put me in what? Remembrance. If you can just remember him when you walk out of here. See, that's why I put that thing in your bulletin. If you can just remember him when you walk out of here, he's going to fight with you. Because he already knows you're planning that secret visit to the other side of town. If you will just remember me, let us argue together. He's willing to argue with you. He's willing to fight with you. He's willing to win you. This is the same Isaiah who says, "Come, let us reason together." Though your sins are scarlet, I will make them what? White as snow. Put me in remembrance. Do not forget me when you walk out of here. And when you want to go down that street, when you want to go back to that vomit, I'm going to remind you of how gross it is to be able to eat vomit and not be bothered by it. It's okay to have a recipe portfolio, but some things stay out of it. And if you're right, I'll let you be right. But come argue with God. Come argue with God. Terry had been a pastor's daughter in a small rural town. She had grown up where everyone knew her. She was the darling of the church in a town that was so small that it only had two churches. One was Protestant, one was Catholic. So half the town knew Terry. Terry, it's hard to be a PK. You know, right? You were a PK, right? You know what a PK is? Who knows? Yell it out. Preacher's kid, pastor's kid. She was a PK. You know, it was really hard for her because she got favoritism in the church, but she got double expectation in the home. Because when something went wrong in the church would never blame her because she's the PK. But Dad'd be like, "Come on, Terry, you're the PK. Come on, Terry, I'm counting on you to be the PK." Now, at a certain stage in Terry's life, she started running into certain kinds of trouble. And eventually she ran into kind of trouble, or troubles, that got the attention of the whole town. One night they called a meeting at the church, and they kicked her out. And the pastor kept his job just by this much. Terry had not been back around to that church for 3 or 4 years. Her problems then began growing up. One day she stopped by Dad's house, and she said, "I just got to tell you, I'm sorry." And I just got to tell you, I don't know where I'm going to go to church because I will not put that shame back on you. I will not go back in there, and I will not tell those people that I can be something that I don't know if I can be. And I know if I go back and I make a mistake, I know those church people like to live in the land of nostalgia. I know those church people, they have a hard time seeing the new thing that you are doing. I know those church people, they're fixated on the things of old. And you know the worst part? The worst part is Dad couldn't even say, no, dear, it's not like that. Because if he did, and she did, he didn't know what they would do. So he called for the elders, and the elders came. There they were, pastor's house, gathered around Terry, and they start grilling her. What are you reading in the Bible these days? What's the book right after Malachi? Who's Ruth's first husband? Oh, you read the Bible, you're going to know those things, Terry. She just like, it's okay. I get it. I'm not asking for anything. I'm going to go to the next town. I just want to worship Jesus. I don't. Look, Terry's like, look, I know what I didn't just hurt my daddy. I know what I did hurt you. One elder said, how do I know that things are different? How do I know you're not still a sinner? And she didn't stutter. She looked right in his eyes. And she said, I never told you I was not a sinner. And then she said this, I don't quite know how to explain it. I used to be a sinner running after sin. But now I'm a sinner running from sin. Letting go of nostalgia. It's not about having it all right, because that is also an idol. Letting go of nostalgia is just choosing to run in the right directions. Remember when I said when I started this sermon, I don't care if you run, I don't care if you walk, I don't care if you crawl, but you go forward. I don't know how to explain it, except I used to be a sinner running after sin, and now I'm a sinner running from sin. By the way, the Apostle Paul, as you will see in the article, calls a sinner running away from sin a saint. One of the elders that night called her phone. He called her phone. He called her phone to see if she was at a party. He called her phone to see if she would pick up. He called her phone and he got her new voicemail. And here's the way her new voicemail went. Hello, this is Terry. Leave a message at the beep. I will get back to you if I can, but if I don't, that's just because I've started a new life and I've decided you're no longer in it. Beep. right? You're going to go out of here. I hope you fight with God. You're going to go out of here. I hope you have arguments with God. You're going to go out of here. I hope you remember that I am the God. I am the one who blots out your transgressions. I am the one who waters you in the desert. I hope you're going to remember there is nothing left back in the dead lands. I hope you stop picking up when the devil calls. I'm going to tell you right now, the devil's going to call. The devil's always going to call. His job is to deceive the very elect. He's coming, calling for you. Let your voicemail be, behold, Jesus is doing a new thing in me. Behold, it springs forth. Behold, I cannot deny the awesomeness of the change in me. Behold, I am one who used to sit at home and worry about my sins. Behold, I am one who used to think I could not be forgiven. Behold, I am one that the elders would have never accepted back into the fold. Behold, my God loved me enough to fight for me. My God is awesome enough to have arguments with my stupidity. My God washed out my transgressions. My God is not just simply good. My God is not simply great. My God is awesome. And He's going to be awesome in your life when you walk out these doors, if you remember Him. Marvin teaches about the awesomeness of God. I expect you to be clapping. Singing too, if you know it.
Come on, Lord. Lord, you are awesome. Come on, Lord. Lord, you are awesome. Lord, you are awesome. Lord, you are awesome. Wasn't for your love? If it wasn't for your love, wasn't for your grace, I don't know where I'd be without you. Wasn't for your love? If it wasn't for your love, wasn't for your grace, I don't know where I'd be without you. Lord, you're awesome. Come on. Lord, you are awesome. Lord, you are awesome. Lord, you are awesome. Lord, you are awesome. Wasn't for your love? If it wasn't for your love, wasn't for your grace, I don't know where I'd be without you. If it wasn't for your love, wasn't for your grace, I don't know where I'd be without you. Lord, you're holy. Come on. Lord, you are holy. Lord, you are holy. Lord, you are holy. Lord, you are holy. If it wasn't for your love, if it wasn't for your love, wasn't for your grace, I don't know where I'd be without you. If it wasn't for your love, wasn't for your grace, I don't know where I'd be without you.
If it wasn't for His love, if it wasn't for His grace, I don't know where I'd be without Him. I do know what I'd be eating. Yeah, you're right. Let it sink in. Because I don't want you to eat it later. He is awesome. He is mighty. He is able. He provides water in the desert. He carries you and he forgives you. And he blots out your unrighteousness when you are undeserving of it. He blots it out and he washes you clean and he puts you out there and he says, now let's fight. You want that sin, you come to me and you ask me. You prove your case to me. I dare you this week. We got any men out there? You can't beat on your wives like in those ads, but you can do battle with the mighty angel of Jehovah. I challenge you, whatever your addiction is. I challenge you, whatever your cherished sin is. I challenge you to do battle this week with the angel of Jehovah. I dare you to get in an argument with him, because at least you're going to remember him. Next week, this place is going to be doubly packed. It's our 4th year celebration, our 4th year anniversary. We're going to be packed upstairs. We're going to be packed downstairs. We're going to be packed every place. Marvin's got music lined up out the ears. Emmanuel's got plans. And I'm going to be here for the drawings. Don't you think I'm not going to compete against you in the drawings? I am. Because my God's awesome. And I'm going to be here. And I want you to be here too. I also want you to think about starting this year over right. There's a place on that card for baptism. I want you to think about that if that's you. Either way, look in that bulletin. Part 2 of the sermon's waiting for you when you go out. Because our God is, Marvin?
Awesome. Lord, you are awesome. Come on, sing, Lord. Lord, you are awesome.
Don't make me sing, it won't be good.
Lord, you are awesome. Lord, you're awesome. Lord, you are awesome. If it wasn't for your love, if it wasn't for your grace, I don't know where I'd be without you. If it wasn't for your love, wasn't for your grace, I don't know where I'd be without you.
Dear Heavenly Father, you are awesome. You are mighty. You are powerful. Father, I beg of you to meet us on the road this week. I beg of you to meet us in the supermarket this week. I beg of you to cause us to remember you with whatever way you can. Father, I beg you to come and pick a fight with us. Father, I beg you to argue with us against our ways, that we may learn your ways. For our ways are not your ways, and your ways are not our ways. But Father, let you win the fight. You are awesome. We praise you. We trust you. Right now, someone is putting their whole life in your hands. Father, take note in heaven. Make an appointment. Pick out that angel that's coming to do battle. Make it a good fight that we can hear about next week. In Jesus' name, amen.